let's talk about these. Audio Advice, Revelation home theater chairs. I just recently purchased these. I got them installed here in my dedicated home theater room. We opted for a row of effectively 5 seats, a love seat, a double arm chair in the middle, and a love seat configuration. It does give us the ability to swap them around into a straight row of 5, but the family and our preference was kind of to the love seat config, so that's how we set them up initially. In this video, I kind of want to give a bit of a first take, go over kind of how they were delivered, how to set them up, how we installed them, and those types of concepts. Of course, as I continue to use them here in the Techthusiasm home theater, you'll see them pretty regularly. I'll talk about them some more. Spoiler alert, my initial take on these seats is that I quite like them, and I am very happy to have made the migration from having had the couch for nigh on 5 years to now having actual home theater seats. So a couple things to keep in mind with home theater chairs. One, they're big. They're big and heavy. These are 150 pounds plus. I think the double arm was 160 pounds in the box. Big boxes that we're talking about. They were delivered via freight delivery, palleted essentially. So the delivery guy brought them, left them in the garage. From there, we had to bring them inside through the doors and then down into our basement here, roughly 18 or so steps. That was quite an undertaking. These boxes are pretty big. I recommend double, triple checking your door openings and the pathway that you're planning to bring these boxes through into your home theater area, because they were pretty sizable. They fit through our doors, but kind of just barely. Getting them down the stairs was a chore unto itself. Before we kind of realized the simplest thing to do was just to slide them down. So I stood underneath. My friend kind of braced it from the top, and I just slowly walked them down, kind of sliding along the surface of the chair. That worked way better than trying to lift them and basically hold them as we brought them down. 2 people lifting 150 pounds isn't really that big of a deal, but when we're talking about such a big, kind of awkward box, it makes it tougher to lift and tougher to move. The packaging was really solid. They reinforced all 4 corners of the box with these L-shaped wedge, heavy cardboard kind of posts. The bottom of the chair had an extra piece of cardboard under it, and the chairs were like doubly wrapped with plastic and foam or inside of the box. The best way that we had found after opening a couple of them actually to get them out of the boxes, there's no way you're opening the top and lifting something like this up and out to set it down. And I was a little hesitant about opening the top and kind of rolling them over like how some subwoofers are actually taken out of the boxes, where you cut the top open and then you roll over onto that and then you just lift the box up. Instead, we would open the top and basically just slice down 2 of the edges of the box, fold that down. And the chairs are actually positioned in the box where the bottom of the chair is facing out of one of the sides. And so that was the side that we would open, and then we would be able to just essentially tilt the chair right down onto its feet after removing some of the wrap, the plastic and the foam wrap, and that worked really well. The backs come separated from the bottom. That made it easy kind of to get everything out of the box. So we would get the bottom unpackaged, we would carry it into the theater here, and then we would bring the back in, see to the remainder of the installation steps. So in terms of setup, installation, there's really kind of 3 main steps that went into these. One is wiring the connection from the back, the electronics that are in the back, to the power delivery and all of that. That's actually in the base of the chair. Of course, these have a movable headrest and they have an inflatable lumbar. So there's 2 sets of wires. They're color coded. That's really easy to do. Basically, just set the chair back kind of down on the floor behind the chair base, and there was enough room there to be able to put the wires together, plug them together, snap them closed, and they're good to go. From there, we kind of took the backs up. There's essentially slots and posts. A friend of mine held that in that position while I would kind of reach in and zip the 2 pieces together. There's a nice debris catcher there between the back and the bottom. Zip them all up, and then you kind of push the chairs down firmly so that these locking clips connect the posts and the channels. We had really not much of a problem doing that. One of them we struggled with a little bit trying to get the right lock, but after a couple of iterations, we finally got it. The other 4 were just a snap, boom, push them down, and they snapped right in. And other than that, I mean, you plug them in and you're good to go. The power cords do come out of the back. There's basically a flap of material that lets you get into the back of the chair down in the rear, and that's where the power cord comes out from as well. The chairs do have some mechanisms to basically connect them together. the right-hand side of a given chair has posts that kind of stick out with a little tab that's underneath. And then the left-hand side of the chairs have these little channels that you can flip out, and then these things connect together to kind of lock the seats together in the row. We did opt to put the love seats together, locked together, but after seeing what it took to actually move these things around a little bit, and we're sitting these chairs on top of carpet, on top of some pretty thick pad in here, these things aren't moving. So I really didn't even feel a need to lock the entire row together. So the double arm chair in the center here is basically just set, and then the love seats are connected to each other in their centers, but we didn't bother even connecting the love seats to the middle seat. Again, these things aren't going anywhere. I tried to realign the distance to the screen and push these things back a little bit myself, and I couldn't even do it. So they're not going to shuffle, they're not going to move, they're not going to walk around, even with some heavy bass notes and all of that stuff going on. With the way the feet are and the weight of the chairs, they're not going anywhere. So in terms of a first take, my initial impressions after having them now, as of recording this for a few weeks, and having, I think we've watched three or four movies. We've had a couple of different folks down here to sit in them, run some demo scenes and all of that, and I just absolutely love it. All of the reasons that I had wanted to move away from home theater couch to home theater chairs has basically come to fruition and realized themselves in the way that I was hoping that they would. I sit so much more kind of upright and capably addressing my screen. My eyes are more about like 40% up from the bottom of the screen, whereas in the low profile couch I was often sitting looking more up on an angle, which over the course of a 2-hour plus movie I would find to not be that comfortable. I have just so much more of a commanding immersive presence and connection to the content that's up on the screen now, and I am so much more comfortable throughout the length of a movie. In the couch, I would tend to sag and shift and just kind of sink in uncomfortably over the course of a couple hours, and I find that doesn't happen with the home theater chairs. I still adjust my positions. I would say every half an hour or so, I might move the footrest up or the back forward or back just a little bit, just to kind of shuffle things around, change positions a little bit, and that's plenty to remain comfortable for the duration of a film. Of course, with these, there is essentially 4-way movement on 3 controls. The footrest comes out and the back goes back on 1 combined control, and then we do have the ability to put the headrest forward as well as inflating the lumbar behind, and I do engage all 3 of those to get kind of my preferable position. The chairs do have lights, and I think one of the best features of the lights is that you can turn them completely off. There are lights in the cup holder, and there are lights underneath the front of the chair, basically underneath the footrest. And I think, as has been noted in a lot of other YouTube videos reviewing chairs, when you're watching a movie and you have your footrest up and you have a light bar down there, you're essentially having a flashlight of blue light onto your screen. That's not so great. So nominally speaking, you're going to want to turn the lights off when you're watching content, particularly if you have a front projection type of setup, type of a home theater environment. But the lights add some little ambiance when the movie itself is not on. They do have multiple stages of dimming as well, so you don't always have to run them at a super bright kind of torching setting. The chairs do come with a tray table. This is quite nice, a nice soft material. There's the post there. It plugs right in to the socket that exists essentially on every arm of all of the chairs, regardless of the configuration. Very nice for putting your bowl of popcorn or whatever. I've done some live streams already down here, setting my laptop on here, and it worked fantastic. Awesome to not have to buy that. I haven't really gone searching for other accessories. I have a couple other types of accessories for these sockets that I would like to have in mind, particularly maybe like a wine glass, a stem glass type holder, as well as maybe like a tablet or a phone style holder as well. So I'm going to do some research on that, and I'll update in future content as well with whatever accessories I find that look interesting and I think are worth picking up. I find the material to be nice and supple, soft, and comfortable to the touch. We are in a Michigan basement here, so when we're getting into colder temperatures, the room is going to be nominally colder when we come down to use it. But even then, I don't find that the material gets too cold that I'm chilled when I first sit in it, nor over the course of 2 hours does it get too hot where I'm sweating And I'm usually like a hot, I tend to run hot. And sitting in chairs and whatnot, my back can get warm, my back can sweat, particularly in cars or whatnot. In movies, I'm not finding that happening. So I'm pretty comfortable. Even without using a blanket and such, I feel pretty good sitting in these. I haven't really had to clean them up very much yet, but I think this material will be very easy to basically maintain and keep cleaned. And maybe I'll update in some future content as well if I find some right cleaning material, conditioning solutions, and things like that to keep the material up. Of course, wouldn't you know, in the very first movie we watched, my son dumps his bowl of popcorn all over himself and all over the chair. So I had my first experience vacuuming it up, cleaning it up. So I'm appreciative that everything is kind of sealed up pretty good, basically. Of course, the back is zipped to the base. Nothing's falling down and getting lost loose inside the chair body itself. You can basically vacuum all around and clean them up nice and easy. There is a little bit of material rubbing noise, and some chairs seem to have it a little more than others. I think that's essentially a factor of the material being new. The more we use them, the more we sit in them, the more things will kind of loosen up, or perhaps, as was recommended to me, a little bit of leather conditioning and whatnot may also help take care of that. I don't consider it a problem in any way, but it is more notable in one or two of the chairs relative to the others. The chairs don't have a memory setting. We can basically, again, command a couple of different movements in the chair as well as the lights. There is a home button that brings everything back to its home position. So another tip that I would give is I've kind of found like a 2/3 memory setting in terms of how I use it, which is I set my headrest where I like it, I set my lumbar where I like it, and I don't actually use the home button when I'm done using the chair. I just bring the back up, I bring the footrest down, and leave the headrest and the lumbar where they were. And so then at least the fine tuning of those, when I sit back down for another movie, I don't have to mess with those again. I just sit down and put the footrest up, and I'm good. Of course, if somebody else sits in the chair and messes with it, it takes that away. But at least the way that our family is kind of nominally using the space, I always sit in this one. My wife is always sitting next to me on the right, and the kids are sitting together in the love seat to my left. So everybody kind of has already claimed their designated family seat when we're using the room together as a group. I do want to note as well just how much happier I think I am having chosen to go with 5 seats in the way we did it. I was originally contemplating a row of 4, and that would have not created basically a main center focal point seat. And so I'm very, very happy that we ended up doing the row of 5. I think it worked better both in terms of the presentation, the balance, how everything looks and feels inside the room. It gives me this one seat right in the middle. There's a very clearly delineated primary seat of the theater. And I'm the one that cares the most about audio-video performance. So when we're sitting as a family, that's where I'm sitting. If I'm in here by myself, very clearly I know where I'm sitting. And if I want to give people, the best demo possible, then boom, they would want to end up in this chair as well. It also made it very easy to focus the speakers, adjust the toe ends, and run my Anthem Arc room audio calibration essentially around the bubble of the center seat and the seats immediately to my left and my right. So no frustrations, no second guessing or anything about that with regards to how the chairs and how the row of seats impacted the rest of the room setup and the room calibrations and all of that. So I've been waiting to make this swap for a long time. Quite honestly, 5 years ago, I should have just started here instead of having the couch in the interim. But hey, it's only by trying different things and experimenting and learning over time that we really figure out what we like. And I think for a long time, I'm going to be appreciative of this decision. And I definitely think the right call for our room, which is a dark, black, bat cave, very deliberately home theater focused room, is a higher profile, higher seating position, theater looking dedicated chair versus something lower profile or more lifestyle. I think that would work, or maybe have a preference to putting something like that in more of a multifunction space. But what we have here is 100% dedicated theater. Audio Advice Revelations, of course, available from Audio Advice. Links to check these things out and perhaps order yourself a few of them or a row or 2 is down in the description below. Or if you're talking to Audio Advice over the phone, please mention Techthusiasm as a referral. And of course, there's other ways to support the channel down there as well. Otherwise, please do all that regular YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, hit the bell, leave some comments, ask some questions. Let me know if there's other things that I can talk about with regards to these seats, home theater seating in general, or whatnot in future content. Thanks so much for watching, and come on back for more home theater discussion and fun.